Block. In February 2026, Jack Dorsey fired over 4,000 people. 40% of Block's entire workforce gone in one announcement. And this was just the start of a quarter where AI stopped being a buzzword and became a pink slip. But here's the thing nobody expected. Wall Street loved it. The company had been running an internal AI tool called Goose for 18 months. Dorsey's memo said most companies were late and that a significantly smaller team using the tools they'd built could do more. He wasn't apologizing. He was bragging. Fourth quarter gross profits were $2.9 billion, up 24% year over year. Business was strong. The cuts weren't about survival. They were about efficiency. A mid-sized company employs maybe 200 people. Dorsey eliminated the equivalent of 20 mid-sized companies in one email, and the stock jumped almost 20% on announcement day. Severance was generous, 20 weeks pay plus 1 week per year of service, but the message was clear. AI doesn't need you. Pinterest. About 700 employees got cut at Pinterest in late January 2026, 15% of the workforce. Stock dropped 9% and kept falling, down 35% over 3 months. But the layoffs aren't the story. CEO Bill Reddy said it was about doubling down on an AI-forward approach. Then the chief security officer told remaining staff that Pinterest wouldn't release a list of who'd been laid off, citing privacy. So 2 engineers built a tool. They scraped Slack data, tracked which employee names were being deactivated from internal systems, and compiled a master list of everyone who got cut. Pinterest fired both of them. Reddy told employees to consider a job elsewhere if they were working against the direction of the company. A company whose entire business model is tracking user behavior cited privacy as the reason to fire people for tracking internal data. They were fired for doing what engineers do, building a tool to solve a problem nobody else would. Dell. For the 3rd straight year, Dell cut roughly 10% of its workforce, about 11,000 jobs in fiscal 2026, on top of similar rounds in 2024 and 2025. But the pattern is what makes it brutal. From 133,000 employees to roughly 97,000, a 27% decline in 3 years. $569 million in severance this year alone, over $1.2 billion in 2 years. A typical 4-year college degree costs about $120,000. Dell spent enough on severance to put 10,000 people through college. Michael Dell's company is becoming an AI infrastructure company with a fraction of the humans. The AI server business is expected to double revenue by fiscal 2027. The old Dell is being hollowed out to fund the new one. If you survived last year's cut and the year before, the math says you've still got a 27% chance of being gone by now. Heineken. 5,000 to 6,000 jobs, roughly 7% of Heineken's 47,000-person global workforce, announced February 11, 2026. Beer volumes declined 2.4% in 2025, Europe down 4.1%, Americas down 3.5%, profit outlook downgraded. And then, buried in the restructuring announcement, 3 words nobody expected from a beer company: accelerated AI adoption. Half the eliminated roles will be transitioned to something called Heineken Business Services. The rest include brewery closures. A 6-pack of decent beer costs about $12. Heineken's restructuring will cost enough to buy roughly 50 million 6-packs. People are drinking less beer, and robots are coming for the jobs of the people who make the beer people aren't drinking. When AI layoffs hit the brewery floor, no industry is safe anymore. Atlassian. 1,600 jobs, 10% of the workforce, $225 to $236 million in restructuring costs. And the CTO stepped down. March 11, 2026. Over 900 of the 1,600 roles cut were from software research and development. CEO Mike Cannon-Brookes called it a necessary adaptation to the AI era. That's $169 to $174 million in severance alone. Over $100,000 per eliminated role. You could buy a decent house in some parts of the country for what it costs to fire each person. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman had just coined the term AI washing, describing companies using AI as justification for cuts made for other reasons. The CTO departing alongside the layoffs suggests deeper strategic turmoil than the AI narrative covers. When the CEO of OpenAI is calling you out for blaming AI, you might be overselling the narrative. Morgan Stanley. Record revenue, record profits, and they still fired roughly 2,500 people. March 5th, 2026. Wealth management posted record $31.8 billion in net revenue. Investment banking revenue up nearly 50%. Total revenue rose to $17.89 billion. And Morgan Stanley itself commissioned a study in February predicting banks could see 30% efficiency gains from AI. So they literally paid for a study telling themselves to fire people, then followed the study's recommendations during their best financial year ever. An average American household earns about $75,000 a year. Morgan Stanley's annual revenue equals the combined income of roughly 240,000 households. Cuts hit back office support across all three divisions. The study you wrote to justify the cuts is now someone else's performance review. And those are just the first 6. 217,000 jobs announced cut in one quarter. AI went from buzzword to body count. If you want to see where this is all headed, hit subscribe. Thanks. Dow Chemical. 4,500 jobs at Dow. 13% of a 34,000 person workforce. 600 to 800 million in severance. January 29th, 2026. And the name they gave the restructuring tells you everything. Sales fell 7% to $40 billion. They posted a loss of $657 million compared to $1.2 billion in profit the year before. And Dow explicitly cited AI as part of the restructuring plan. A small factory might employ 50 people. Dow cut the equivalent of 90 small factories worth of workers. One of the most physical, tangible industries on Earth, claiming AI will eliminate 13% of its jobs. They're spending $1.5 billion to save $2 billion, branding it transform to outperform, while posting a $657 million loss. The chemicals industry just joined the AI layoff wave, and the factory floor got the same memo as Silicon Valley. Salesforce. Under 1,000 jobs in February 2026, on top of roughly 4,000 support roles eliminated in September 2025. Departments hit included marketing, product management, data analytics, the Agentforce AI team, and Heroku. CEO Mark Benioff had previously said Salesforce didn't hire a single new engineer in all of fiscal 2026, relying entirely on AI coding agents. But here's the twist that makes this one special. Even the Agentforce team was cut. Salesforce's flagship AI product. The people building the AI that replaces people got replaced. Meanwhile, Salesforce increased its sales force by nearly 20%. More humans hired to sell the AI. Fewer humans needed to build it. Benioff's quote, "I'm not hiring more engineers because I was using coding agents. They hired 20% more salespeople to sell the product that eliminated the engineers." Epic Games. 1,000 plus jobs at Epic, roughly 20% of the workforce. March 24th, 2026. Fortnite engagement was declining. The company was spending significantly more than it was making, and Epic explicitly stated the layoffs are not related to AI. The only major company in Q1 to say that out loud. A typical game studio has maybe 50 developers. Epic cut the equivalent of 20 studios in one round. Severance was 4+ months base pay with extended health insurance. But the real story here is Mike Prinky, a programmer of nearly 7 years, laid off while battling terminal brain cancer. He'd specifically pursued treatments to prevent memory loss so it wouldn't interfere with his work. His family lost his life insurance because his condition is now a pre-existing condition. CEO Tim Sweeney said Epic would solve the insurance. One human story hits harder than 30,000 faceless termination emails. He fought to keep his memory so he could keep coding. They let him go anyway. UPS. 30,000 jobs in 2026, on top of 48,000 eliminated in 2025, plus 93 facility closures. January 27th, 2026. and the reason has nothing to do with AI. CEO Carol Tomé announced UPS would reduce Amazon volume by another 1 million packages per day, expects $3 billion in savings. A busy post office handles maybe 1,000 packages a day. UPS is dropping the equivalent of 1,000 post offices worth of daily volume. UPS built its modern scale on Amazon. Now Amazon is building its own delivery network, and UPS is shedding the workers it hired to handle packages that aren't coming anymore. 78,000 total jobs eliminated across 2 years. That's a mid-sized city's worth of employment wiped out because one customer decided to compete with you. They let one customer become their entire business model. Now they're paying for it. 78,000 jobs at a time. Amazon. 16,000 corporate jobs in Q1. 30,000 total since October 2025. Roughly 9% of staff. But the layoffs aren't even the wildest part. They're also shutting down all 72 brick-and-mortar grocery locations. Amazon Fresh, Amazon Go, all of them. January 28, 2026. Internal documents point to another 14,000 cuts in Q2. A typical grocery store employs about 50 people. Amazon is closing 72 of them. The company that disrupted retail is abandoning its own retail experiment. The grocery shutdown is a quiet admission that Amazon's physical retail strategy failed entirely. And while firing people on one end, they're building the delivery network that caused UPS to lay off its workers on the other. 30,000 is the size of a small town, and another 14,000 are reportedly coming. They killed retail, tried retail, and then killed their own retail too. Oracle. On March 31st, 2026, somewhere between 20 and 30,000 people woke up to a 6 a.m. email from a sender named Oracle Leadership. Not a human name, not their manager. The largest single-day tech layoff in recent history. Roughly 18% of a 162,000 person workforce. Emails arrived at 6 a.m. local time in India, 3 a.m. Pacific in the United States. No prior warning. Access to company systems was cut immediately. Employees woke up locked out. The email said their role was eliminated as part of a broader organizational change. Watch for a DocuSign with severance terms. All of this to free up $8 to $10 billion for Oracle's $156 billion AI data center build-out. A single-family home costs about $350,000. Oracle is spending enough on data centers to buy roughly 445,000 homes. 30,000 people. One email. No human contact. The quarter that started with AI as a buzzword ended with a 6 a.m. email that killed 30,000 careers. If this is what one quarter looks like, Q2 is going to be something else entirely. If you want to stay on top of it, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.